The sound of a phone vibrating breaks the stillness of the room. In the dim light of the early evening, Ryan, a 28-year-old man, stares at the screen. His eyes flicker between disbelief and confusion. His thumb hovers over the phone's unlock button, the screen showing nothing but a string of messages. "Why would she send this?" he mutters to himself. Ryan's hand trembles slightly as he opens the messages. What he sees next sends a shock through his entire body. "I need you to send me $2,500. I'm in trouble here. Please help me." His stomach drops. The sender is someone he's been talking to for weeks. Emily, the woman he thought was his soulmate. He'd never met her in person, but their connection felt real. Too real. This wasn't just a random message. This was the latest in a series of requests. "I can't keep doing this," Ryan whispers, standing up and pacing the room. Ryan had met Emily 2 months earlier, a chance encounter on a dating app that was supposed to connect people for genuine relationships. She had seemed perfect, everything he ever wanted in a partner. She was beautiful, funny, and had a personality that matched his. They bonded over shared interests, talked for hours, and shared everything. She seemed to understand him in ways no one else did. They sent photos, they talked about their dreams, their fears, and even plans for the future. Emily was so supportive. She had a way of making Ryan feel like he was the only one that mattered. She told him she was from California, but was temporarily living abroad. There was a sense of urgency in her texts, a constant undertone of needing help, but she always assured him it was nothing serious. As the weeks passed, Emily's requests for small amounts of money started to feel more urgent. At first, it was only a few $100s, money for a phone bill or an emergency medical fee. Ryan felt sorry for her and sent the money without hesitation. She had told him her financial situation was difficult, and she didn't want him to worry. He was more than happy to help. But now, the stakes were getting higher, and now, the requests were larger and more frequent. It was late one evening when Emily's tone shifted. The message Ryan read left him feeling uneasy. Emily was in a panic, claiming that she had been in a car accident. The picture she sent was of an emergency room, the sterile white walls and fluorescent lights casting an eerie glow over her supposed injuries. The image was grainy, but it looked real enough to Ryan. "I don't know who else to turn to. I don't want to bother my parents. They're already struggling. Please, Ryan, I'm really scared." Ryan didn't hesitate. He'd been in a similar situation before with a family member, and he knew how quickly things could spiral out of control. His mind raced. What if she was telling the truth? What if this really was an emergency? He immediately transferred $1,500 into her account, a move he thought was the right thing to do. The next day, she thanked him profusely, sending him sweet words of gratitude, and yet, she seemed to avoid explaining further details about the accident. "It's okay, Ryan. You're the best. I'll pay you back soon." But the uneasy feeling in his gut wouldn't go away. It only grew stronger with each new message. By now, Ryan had been helping Emily for almost 2 months, and her requests were growing in frequency and size. First, it was for a few hundred, then $2,000, and now the latest demand was for $5,000, money for an alleged visa issue and last-minute travel expenses so she could return home. Ryan's friends had started to notice the change in him. He was quieter, distracted, and increasingly distant. He spent less time with his family and had begun withdrawing from activities he once loved. His brother, Alex, had been the first to voice his concern. "You've been talking about her nonstop for weeks, Ryan. It's starting to sound too good to be true." Alex's voice was filled with worry. Ryan shrugged it off. "You don't get it, Alex. She's the one. You haven't seen how much she cares for me. I'm helping her out. It's not a big deal." But Alex didn't buy it. His suspicion grew when he asked Ryan for more details about Emily. Ryan struggled to give clear answers, leaving out small details. There were always excuses. Emily was busy, her connection wasn't stable, or she was dealing with personal stuff. The truth was, there were always excuses, and never any solid answers. It was early one morning when the final straw broke. Ryan received a desperate call from Emily, claiming that she had been locked out of her apartment abroad and needed $7,000 to cover her rent and legal issues. She told him the apartment was under surveillance, and the authorities were involved. She promised it would be the last time. She told him that after this, everything would be fine. She told him she would come to him, to start a life together, free from these problems. Ryan hesitated, his mind clouded with doubt, but he didn't want to lose her. He was afraid of what would happen if he didn't help. "I'll do anything for you, Emily," Ryan said, the words escaping his mouth before he could stop them. He immediately transferred the money, a sum that drained almost all of his savings. He reassured himself that this would be the last time. Once she was safe, everything would be fine. But hours later, Emily's messages went silent. Days passed, and Emily's phone went straight to voicemail. Ryan felt a deep sense of unease settle in the pit of his stomach. He sent dozens of messages, left countless voicemails, but nothing. By now, Ryan's family had begun to grow worried. Alex had been doing some research of his own, and he uncovered something disturbing. A pattern of similar scams online, many of them involving women claiming to be in distress and using a fake persona. The sinking realization hit Ryan like a ton of bricks. He started connecting the dots: the emergency room picture, the repeated pleas for money, the sudden disappearance. It wasn't adding up. In a panic, he reached out to the authorities, and they confirmed what he had feared. Emily wasn't real. She was a fictional persona created by a network of criminals running an online romance scam. Ryan's stomach churned as the weight of the deception pressed down on him. The woman he thought he loved, the woman he had poured his heart and money into, didn't exist. She was a figment of a criminal's imagination. Just when Ryan thought it was over, a message appeared on his phone. It was from an unknown number. "Ryan, I know what you did, and you're not getting away with it. You'll regret this." Ryan froze. Who was this? Was it the scammer, or something worse? As he stared at the screen, fear gripped his heart. The darkness that had started as a simple conversation was now spiraling into something much deeper and far more dangerous. The message on Ryan's phone burned like a branding iron in his mind. "You'll regret this." Those words echoed, and he could feel his heart race as he stared at the screen. His hands shook uncontrollably. Who could it be? Who was after him now? The rational side of his brain screamed that it was just another attempt to manipulate him, but his gut told him otherwise. He knew he had to be careful. He quickly locked his phone, trying to calm himself. His breathing was shallow, anxiety creeping up from the pit of his stomach. He looked over at Alex, who was sitting on the couch, watching Ryan's every move. "Who was that?" Alex asked, his voice laced with concern. Ryan, feeling the weight of the situation, swallowed hard before responding. It was her. Emily. She's gone, Alex. She's not real. It was all a scam." Alex's face shifted from confusion to disbelief. "Wait, you're telling me all of that was a lie? The pictures, the promises, everything?" Ryan nodded. His throat tightened as he explained how he'd fallen for the scam, how everything Emily had told him was a fabricated story, created by a network of scammers who had been preying on his emotions. "But the money, the $13,000. Ryan's voice trailed off. "It's all gone, and now someone is threatening me." Alex's face hardened. "You need to report this to the police, Ryan. This isn't just a scam anymore. You're in danger." But Ryan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Something told him that calling the authorities might not be enough. He had done everything he could to help Emily, only to find out it was all an elaborate lie. And now there were consequences that no one could have predicted. Ryan didn't wait. He couldn't. He had already lost too much, and he wasn't about to sit idly by while some faceless individual threatened his life. He spent the next few days trying to trace the number that had sent him the ominous message, but each attempt led to a dead end. The number was unregistered. It was likely an anonymized burner phone. Frustration built as Ryan dug deeper into the criminal web that had ensnared him. With Alex's help, he found forums and social media groups where others shared similar experiences. They were all victims, just like him. The names might change, but the story was always the same: a beautiful woman, a budding romance, and an ultimate betrayal. As Ryan sifted through the shared stories, he found something strange. One particular post caught his eye. A woman named Sarah had written about a similar experience, and her story seemed eerily familiar. The details matched: a car accident, a medical emergency, a woman named Emily. The post was dated just weeks ago, but the message she received sounded almost identical to Ryan's. Ryan's heart raced. Was Emily using multiple identities? Was she targeting more people? And if so, how far did this web of lies stretch? His mind raced as he tried to connect the dots. In the middle of his search, Ryan received another message. It was the same unknown number. He was bracing for another threat, but instead, this one was different. It read, "Come meet me, Ryan. You'll want to hear what I have to say." A chill ran down his spine. This wasn't just a random threat anymore. This person was controlling the strings, playing a game, and he was part of it whether he liked it or not. Alex noticed his brother's face turn pale. "Ryan, don't do this. You don't know who this person is. They're not going to offer you anything good." But Ryan was already in motion. The urge to confront this anonymous figure, to understand how deep the rabbit hole went, was overwhelming. He wasn't going to back down now, not when his entire life had been turned upside down by this deception. The location was a small, abandoned park on the edge of town. The place was deserted, dark, and the air smelled of damp earth. Ryan's breath hung in the cool night air as he stepped cautiously through the shadows, glancing nervously at every movement. There, standing by a rusted swing set, was a figure, a man. He was tall, wearing a dark jacket and sunglasses despite the nighttime hour. His face was hidden, and for a brief moment, Ryan's heart skipped a beat. The man stepped forward, his movements slow but deliberate. "I've been waiting for you, Ryan," he said, his voice cold and unfamiliar. Ryan felt his pulse quicken. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice shaking with anger and fear. "Why are you doing this? Why did you make me believe all of it?" The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he tossed something in Ryan's direction. It was a photograph. Ryan caught it with trembling hands. His eyes widened. It was a picture of Emily, but it wasn't the Emily he knew. In the photo, she was standing with another man, her arms draped around his shoulders, both smiling widely, clearly in a different location than any of the supposed emergencies she had described. The man in the photo looked familiar, but Ryan couldn't place him. "Who is this?" Ryan demanded. "What is this?" The man remained silent. Then, with an eerie calm, he finally spoke. "You've been dealing with a network, Ryan. A network that's been running this same scam on dozens of people. Emily, the one you loved, was just a pawn. The man in the photo?" He paused, watching Ryan's face for a reaction. "He's the mastermind behind it all." Ryan's heart raced as he stared at the photo. The pieces were finally falling into place. Suddenly, The man's expression shifted. "I'm not the only one involved, Ryan. You've made enemies now. The man you saw in the photo isn't just some scammer. He's a criminal mastermind, and you're not the first to fall victim to his games." Ryan's blood ran cold. His mind raced with possibilities, but before he could ask more, the man's tone grew darker. "You think this is over? Think again. The real danger is just beginning." And with that, the man turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Ryan alone with more questions than answers. Who is the criminal mastermind behind the scam? What other secrets lie in the shadows? The answers lie deeper, and Ryan is about to face a danger far greater than just losing his money. Ryan's mind spun with a mix of fear and disbelief. The man's words echoed in his head like a persistent drumbeat. The real danger is just beginning. He stood alone in the cold park, his heart pounding. His eyes scanned the empty space around him, but the mysterious figure was gone, vanished into the night. For a few moments, Ryan just stood there, frozen, as though the world had stopped moving. He had to find answers. He had no choice. Ryan returned home, his steps heavy and filled with dread. Alex met him at the door, his worried eyes searching his brother's face. "What happened?" Alex asked, trying to read Ryan's expression. Ryan ran a hand through his disheveled hair, his face drawn. "It's worse than I thought, Alex." His voice was shaky, the weight of the evening's events settling on his shoulders. He walked over to the couch and slumped down, the photograph of Emily and the man still gripped tightly in his hand. "I've been part of something much bigger than I ever imagined. This scam, it's not just about money. There's a whole network of people involved, and they've been doing this for years." Ryan's voice cracked as he spoke, the magnitude of what he'd uncovered now settling in. Alex sat down next to him, his expression growing serious. "What do we do now?" Ryan shook his head, his mind racing. "We have to take this further. We need to find this man, the one in the photo, and we need to expose this whole thing. The people behind Emily's identity aren't just con artists. They're dangerous." The next day, Ryan did something he'd never thought he would have to do. He reached out to the authorities. But not just any authorities. He contacted the cybercrime division, explaining everything that had happened, from his initial meeting with Emily to the mysterious figure in the park. He knew this wasn't just a simple scam anymore. Hours later, Ryan found himself in a meeting with Detective Carson, a no-nonsense investigator who had dealt with similar cases before. She listened carefully as Ryan recounted every detail, the urgency in his voice rising with every word. "I've seen scams like this before," Detective Carson said, her voice calm but stern. "But what you're telling me? This is something else. I'll have our team look into it, Ryan, but I have to warn you, this might get ugly. These people don't stop at scamming money. They'll do whatever it takes to keep their secrets hidden." Ryan's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" The detective gave him a sharp look. "You'll see soon enough. Trust me, the stakes are much higher than you think. These networks often have connections, influence. You're not just a victim of a romance scam. You've unwittingly stepped into a much bigger mess." Days passed, but nothing seemed to happen. Ryan's phone remained silent. No new threats, no messages, nothing from Emily. It was as if the world had paused. But the unease didn't leave him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was always watching. Then, one evening, as Ryan sat in his living room, his phone buzzed. It was an encrypted message. The screen flashed, and then it read, "I hope you've learned your lesson, Ryan. This isn't over. You've been a pawn in a much bigger game. We know where you are." His blood ran cold. Ryan quickly checked his surroundings, but everything seemed normal. No one in sight. But the message, there was something in the way it was phrased that sent chills through him. "We know where you are." The words felt like a direct threat. Someone knew his every move, and they were closing in. The following morning, Ryan received an unexpected phone call from Detective Carson. Her voice was tight, and there was a sense of urgency in her words. "Ryan, I need you to come in. Now, we found something." He rushed to the police station, his heart racing with anticipation. Once there, Carson met him with a grave expression. "We've traced the man in the photo. His name is Thomas Grayson. He's not just a scammer. He's the leader of a massive cybercrime syndicate that's been operating for over a decade." Ryan felt his stomach churn. He had no idea what he was walking into. Detective Carson continued. "Grayson runs a network of con artists who target vulnerable people. His operation is vast. He's involved in everything from human trafficking to identity theft. The money you lost, Ryan? It's just a small piece of the puzzle. He's been running scams like this all over the world." Ryan felt the world tilt beneath him. This wasn't just about his $13,000 anymore. This was something far darker, far more dangerous. "So what happens now?" Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. Carson's face grew somber. "We go after him. We bring him down." Ryan's mind raced as he dashed through the alley, heart pounding in his chest. The words from Detective Carson echoed in his earpiece. "Get out of there! Now!" The feeling of betrayal weighed heavily on him. His hands were shaking, but he didn't dare stop. The detective he thought was on his side, one he trusted, was working with Grayson. How deep did this conspiracy go? Who could he trust now? His feet pounded the pavement as he rounded a corner, but a sharp turn ahead revealed the familiar face of the officer who had betrayed him. He was blocking Ryan's path, a cold smile creeping across his face. The realization hit Ryan like a ton of bricks. "You were never going to win, Ryan," the officer sneered. "Grayson has eyes everywhere. You're just another pawn in the game. This is where it ends for you." Ryan's heart sank, but the instinct to survive kicked in. He couldn't let it end like this, not after everything he'd fought for. With no time to think, he dove into the darkness of the alley, dodging his pursuer. The chase continued through the narrow streets. Ryan's legs burned with the effort, but he pushed forward, determined to make it to safety. His phone buzzed with a new message, a quick glance revealing Detective Carson's frantic words. "We've got Grayson. Get out of there, Ryan. It's your chance." But Ryan wasn't sure he could trust anyone anymore. He kept running. The pursuit seemed endless. But finally, in the distance, the bright lights of a police car flashed. It wasn't the police officer after him. It was Carson, and she wasn't alone. "Ryan, over here!" Carson shouted. Ryan dove into the back of the squad car, just as the officer who had betrayed him lunged forward, but was stopped by the other detectives in pursuit. Ryan's chest heaved as he collapsed in the back seat, the car doors slamming shut, sealing him inside. The chaos of the moment gradually faded as the adrenaline left his body. Carson turned to him, her voice filled with grim determination. "We've got Grayson. It's over. The network is finished. You've done it, Ryan." Ryan's body was still shaking, but a wave of relief washed over him. For the first time in weeks, he could breathe. The nightmare was finally over. The city felt different. The sun was rising, but Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. He had survived, but at what cost? His money was gone, his trust shattered, and the scars of the betrayal would stay with him for a long time. Still, there was a quiet satisfaction. He had uncovered the truth. He had exposed the criminals behind the scam. And with Grayson and his syndicate in police custody, others would no longer fall victim to the same deception. As Ryan stood in front of the police station, looking at the flashing lights and the bustling officers inside, He knew that his fight wasn't just about getting his money back. It was about making sure no one else had to go through what he had. But even as the case seemed to wind down, Ryan knew this wasn't the end of his journey. This fight for justice would always be a part of him, no matter what came next. As the story drew to a close, Ryan took a moment to reflect on everything he had been through. The emotional toll, the shattered trust, and the lingering doubt. He would carry it all with him. But he had won. And the world was just a little bit safer for those who might have fallen victim to the same cruel scam. If you've learned something from this story, if it's opened your eyes to the dangers lurking in the digital world, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with your friends and family. The more people who are aware, the fewer victims there will be. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories of survival, justice, and the truth behind the screens. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware, and keep fighting for what's right.